instant understanding, the efficiency of thought and action, and a good feeling that comes when the like-minded people work together. This is the comment on the scientist by F. Prose. Who is F. Prose? F. Prose is one of the best educators on human nature. So what did he say? Instant understanding, okay, and efficiency of thoughts and actions, and the good feeling that comes when the like-minded people work together. Basically an outline of a scientist's life. Now this is an experience of our author, which he tells us when he went to Geneva. Okay, so let's see. It was 1960, the height of the Cold War. What is Cold War? Cold War is an unfriendly relationship between the US and the Soviet Union after the Second World War. After the Second World War, there was an unfriendly, very bad relationship between US and the Soviet Union. So he's talking about that time period. I was in Moscow doing research on the theory of seismic waves. What are seismic waves? Seismic waves are tremors generated. Generated is something that is produced. Tremors are when you can hear the shaking. When earthquake comes, you can see, right, everything is moving. Those are tremors. The below land, the land below the soil is moving. Those are called tremors. So he used to study seismic waves, the tremors generated by an earthquake. I was absorbed. That means he was so much involved in his own problem. I enjoyed the mathematical challenge. I did not give much thought to how it connects with the real life. Now he was so much involved with the seismic waves and their mathematical values that he did not see that how that connects with the real life. How can you connect tremors with the real life? He did not know that. The summons came from the president, the notice came from the president of Russian, then Soviet, Academy of Sciences. What came? A notice came from the Russian Academy of Sciences. He had received a message from the Palace of Nations in Geneva. He had received an invitation where technical experts from the Soviet Union, United States and United Kingdom. These are the three superpowers who possessed nuclear weapons. So basically Russia, America and England at that point. They met behind closed doors. They all had the most powerful nuclear weapons. Now all of them were meeting behind the closed doors. That means by the secret thing. And who were they called? They had called all the technical experts from Soviet, then Russia. The president showed me a letter from Geneva. An American scientist, Frank Prose, quoted my work while arguing with Moscow experts. He had argued with Moscow experts and he had shown his work to them. And to my great surprise, I found myself in Geneva, and so that was the reason he went to Geneva for that meeting. At that time when the meeting was held, and what time was that? The Cold War time, just after the World War II. Every man, woman and child on earth lived under the threat of annihilation. What is annihilation? That means complete destruction. There were destructions everywhere. Everyone was scared and they were living with so much of threat that anytime anything can happen. By nuclear weapons. Everyone had the most powerful nuclear weapons, right? So they were using it like anything and everyone was very afraid that time. Each superpower had more than enough nuclear bombs to destroy the others in the worst strike. Now, this person says, I have this kind of nuclear weapon, and he charges them. So this person says, hey, don't worry, I have a stronger one, and they would take that. So they actually had a competition kind of a thing, that who has a more stronger nuclear weapon, and they did not bother about the humanity. They did not bother about human beings and how many people were getting killed in that process. So everyone was scared. Even the government at that time was very afraid. Okay, but in the 20 minutes it took for the rockets to reach their targets, the other side had plenty of time to launch retaliation strikes, ensuring the destruction of their enemies only a few minutes later. That's so sad. Now, first I will tell you the meaning of retaliation. It means an action against someone who has done something bad to you. Now, if your friend has done something bad to you, if he has poked you with a pencil, simple thought. If he has poked you with a pencil, what will you do? You will take out a knife and poke him back. This is what retaliation is, right? Giving back. Someone did something bad to you, you want to do double back to them. Now this was happening here also. This part of the country, as soon as the rocket went up, it's not even 20 minutes that the rocket has went up to destroy this place, another rocket is already ready. And by the time this rocket lands here, in few minutes this also lands there. So there was a competition happening between all the states at that time, okay. They were fighting with each other and fighting more than each other. This threat of mutually assured destruction, they named it as mutually assured. Assured means for sure destruction with ominous acronym. That means making you feel that something bad is going to happen. Every minute you felt something is bad, something bad is going to happen. And this was also called as MAD. Mutually M, assured A, destruction D. MAD. Alright. MAD was for some years the only threat protecting all of us from the common fatal fate. Continuing nuclear tests meant development of even stronger bombs, introducing even more imbalance into the global nuclear standoff. So what was happening was, now because they were using nuclear weapons, they had to test them. So where would they test? In their own land. So there were so many nuclear weapons testing happening, which was again bad, isn't it? What is standoff? Which means a situation in which neither side in a battle can gain an advantage. So neither this side was gaining an advantage over this, nor that side. They were having tests also within each other, on each other. So the three nuclear powers, who were the three nuclear powers? Soviet Union, United Kingdom, United States. They all thought that, okay, let's just ban the testing. And for that, they need some opinions. So they called all the technicians from everywhere, the technical experts as you call them. In formal terms, the problem was the following, okay. In formal terms means, let's take it as a note by note. What was the problem? Suppose that, first problem was, the nuclear powers had signed agreement to stop the test of the nuclear weapons. Okay, we all have sat together here, everyone who's related to it with the technical experts, and we sign an agreement that, okay, stopped. And one of the participants had violated this agreement and secretly made an underground nuclear explosion. Now one of the countries says, okay, now the agreement is done, and secretly they violated. So they destroy one country. Isn't that stupid? Isn't that sad? So this is what the tension was going on in their minds. The problem is, how can the other powers detect the violations? Violations is disobey law or go against agreement. So their thing was now, how do you solve this problem? Someone else should not violate the agreement. So this, I have made a chart for you to easily understand what actually happened in Geneva. In Geneva, the three nuclear powers, Soviet Union, United States and United Kingdom, came together, and they were all possessing big nuclear weapons, and for that people were under the threat. So for that, what was happening? They continued nuclear test. In that, there was so much of imbalance, lots was happening, okay. And in the agreement, they wanted to ban the nuclear weapon test, but what was the problem? The problem was the violation of the agreement secretly. Who can disobey the law? Secretly violate the agreement. So with this, you will understand what happened in Geneva. Now, it turned out that this problem had a direct connection with the theory of seismic waves. Absolutely. That's what our author and scientist is exploring. Seismic waves. Now, why is nuclear weapon testing and seismic waves related? Let's see. Underground nuclear explosions. Underground nuclear explosions, when you are doing the explosions underground, okay. Tremors very similar to those generated by earthquakes. So how earthquakes generate tremors are very equal to the power generated by the nuclear weapon. Isn't that very dangerous? So one is actually man-made. Which is man-made? Nuclear power. And one is natural, by nature. We have no control over it. Which one? Earthquake. We can control man-made tremors, but can we control natural tremors? No. Exactly. How could one distinguish the natural tremors from the ones produced by the explosion? How can you distinguish? Suddenly, my theoretical knowledge had a direct application in the area of survival of the human mankind, a state that continues to live or exist. So, his knowledge, his theoretical knowledge now had a direction, had a direct application in the area of survival of the humankind. In the atmosphere of the ongoing Cold War, the atmosphere was very tense, okay, and people were afraid. With political tensions hanging over our heads, scientists and engineers from the opposite sides of the Iron Curtain had to find a solution. What is Iron Curtain? The name for the socio-political border that was believed to exist between Western Europe and the communist countries of Central and Eastern Europe. That was the Iron Curtain. They had to find a solution, which outwardly seemed impossible, given all our differences in cultural background. So there was lots happening at that time. There were political tensions. There were, a lot of scientists, engineers. Everyone was very, very tensed about at that point of time. What saved us? What saved at that time was a clear and obvious distinction. Now, obvious means clear. What saved us was the clear distinction between what? We were all scientists. We were able to work out a common language. Everyone was speaking common because their studies were same. Based on respect to hard evidence, they will not agree to anything which does not have an evidence. Scientists will not agree, okay? They do not believe in supernatural powers. What is in front of them is all practical and scientific. Undisputable ranking by expertise. Only now, undisputable is known to be true, okay? And persistent self-criticism. Now, persistent means continuing to exist or happen. It is a persistent thing for him to be like that. That means it is continuously happening. Self-criticism. What is self-criticism? It means the act of judging one's own behavior or character. Sometimes self-criticism is very important. You need to correct your actions. You need to believe that I might be wrong too, isn't it? So don't think self-criticism is bad. It's good. So scientists have persistent self-criticism. They keep telling that I may be wrong. We were working out a solution that eventually allowed politicians to reach one of the most important decisions of their times. Nuclear test ban. The solution that came up that day was nuclear test ban. And who got it out? Like-minded people, all the scientists together. So these were the qualities of a good scientist, okay? So what was the important decision which was taken? Who solved? Scientists. Whose decision was it? Politicians. They were tensed, okay? So the decision was ban on nuclear weapon tests completely. And this was the hope for the survival of humanity. This is for the survival of humanity. Science is the hope for the survival of humanity. Next, this episode taught me that as a scientist, I have people all over the world who think and interact the way I do. People do think like me. I'm not mad that I think like that. People around me are also similar. It taught me never to feel lonely abroad. When I go abroad, there are people who think like me. So I can never be alone. There are a lot of people who are with me. And above all, it taught me that while there is science, whenever there is science, there is hope of survival and well-being for all of us. Till scientists keep working hard, till science keeps giving us all the mysteries and discoveries, there is beautiful world for us always and a well-being for all of us. Absolutely correct. So basically he learned 3 lessons. What 3 lessons he learned? People think like him, never feel alone, and while there is science, there is hope for survival. I've made it easy for you, the before paragraph. This is the 10th point. A common lore is that immersion in science does not go with practical sense. Lore, knowledge or information about the subject. And what is immersion? It is being absorbed in an activity. You are immersed in something. So a common knowledge is that being absorbed in science does not go with practical sessions. It is true that on occasions a greatest mathematician of our time was so involved in a current problem that he could leave home wearing shoes from two different pairs. He was so involved in what work he was doing that he actually wore two different shoes and left. So he was so absorbed in what he was doing. However, if you look carefully, you will find another side to this, which makes scientists the most practical people in the world. Scientists are known as the most practical people in the world. Exactly my question.